River Road, you got me running way back home. River Road, you got me running all night long. You got me singing some canal boat song. River Road, you got me running all night long.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Niner Nuts. I'm Dan here along with Eric. Unfortunately, we do not have James. Sorry to step on your hello there.
That's all right.
But no, James, unfortunately, is still in his Thanksgiving food coma. He could not be here today. But the show must go on, as they say. And you know what? A part of me is okay because we could talk about the Niners. We can focus on this. We don't have to talk about the game that happened yesterday.
Yeah.
Or preview for a little bit later. But focusing in strictly on what happened on Thanksgiving. It feels like a week ago, honestly. I am a little glad we get some time to talk about it and not quite be on the emotional high of it, though. Not gonna lie. But to get the nerdy number stuff out of the way, Brock Purdy, he had a game under 90 for a passer rating for once, 86.7, only 200 passing yards, a touchdown, and a pick, but he only took one sack. Christian McCaffrey had himself a hell of a day. Over 130 total yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. Deebo Samuel finally found the end zone with a rushing touchdown, and he had 79 receiving yards. And Brandon Ayuk made the most of his 2 catches for 50 yards and a touchdown. Probably the prettiest pass of the day, too, looking back at the highlights. Everyone else had a pretty quiet day on offense. Excuse me. But on defense, our defense showed up. We had, how many total sacks was it? We had 6 sacks on Geno Smith. I don't even have how many pressures on top of that. He only had 180 passing yards and an interception, and almost 180 of them came in the second half. And we held them under 50, or we held them to 60, 78. We held them to 80 total rushing yards on the day. I mean, given that they didn't have Rashad Penny, but we held Mr. Charbonnet to only 47 rushing yards. And then across the board, the receiving board did not do that well either. And their defense, like I said, only sacked Brock Purdy once, and we ran over them to a score of 31-13. And I don't know. I'm trying to think of where to even start with this game, because I'm just thinking about like how I felt in the moment watching the game, just a general reaction. We definitely ran away with it at the start, and then we kind of let them get back into it in the third quarter before we finally like kept our feet on their necks with that Brandon Ayuk touchdown. Again, I will say that was the prettiest pass of the day. Just how perfect that had to be to get to Brandon. But then that was what finally was just like, okay, we can relax now. We've separated enough, and we're going to walk away with this. We're solely in possession of the NFC West now. We're not of the NFC as a conference yet because of those damn Eagles, but we'll get to square that next week. But yeah, no, what did you think of the game in general? Now that we're 5 days away from it, did you watch the highlights again before this?
No, I took a bunch of notes though, so I would remember what was going on. I wrote I thought that the Niners were rolling in the first half. I said, you can tell in the first 2 offensive drives, really, if the Niners are going to win the game or not. I mean, that just seems to be kind of the pattern for the entire season. If they can come out and they can kind of just march up and down the field, it's going to be a good game and a good day. And that goes for the defensive side of the ball too. If they come out and get 2 good defensive stands right off the rip, it's just going to be a good day, and you know that the Niners are really probably going to win the game. So I like the way that they ran the ball. I like the way that they integrated Deebo. That's really the most that he's been used all season long. I think that's the first time that we've really seen the return of would be 2021 Deebo. Where he's actually like really integrated into the running game, where we're running quick passes for him, where we're running sweeps for him, all that kind of stuff. We haven't really done any.
I told you we were due for a Deebo touchdown. We only really had a Deebo game back in week 3, so it was nice. We were talking about that we were talking about in our text chain that Kyle really leans into the one or maybe two people that have the best matchup in the game. And whatever he saw in his crystal ball, he guessed right. Debo definitely was very equipped to handle the Seahawks.
Yeah, I've got that kind of in my notes as sort of a bad thing, and we can get to that a little bit later. We can talk about it now. It doesn't really matter, but like, I mean, it was great that Ayuk scored, but one of the things that I don't really understand, and I don't know if that's his game plan, if that's what Kyle intentionally does or whatever, but we don't seem to be able to get all four of our stars going at the same time. It's always CMC and somebody else. It's always CMC and Kittle. It's always CMC and Ayuk. It's CMC and Debo. Because I mean, it's always McCaffrey. Everything starts and ends with McCaffrey, obviously. But it's always him and one of the other guys. It's never all four of them clicking and running and whirring like all at the same time. Like you said, Dan, like he seems to sort of pick who he thinks is going to have the matchup exploit and really try to like just force them and use them or whatever. And then, you know, the other two just go off to the side. I mean, we'll go weeks without Kittle catching more than one or two just like casual passes for, 12 yards, or Debo maybe running one sweep and maybe catching two passes for 22 yards or something like that. And you're just like, what the heck is going on? And then, then we have this game where Debo breaks out and has a classic Debo game. And it's just like, I don't understand why he doesn't seem to get all of these pieces going in motion. And quite frankly, I don't want to get too far into it. We'll save it for the preview show, but he's going to have all four pieces going if he's going to beat the Eagles, because just having two going isn't going to get it done. So he's going to have to figure that out. I don't know what the key to that is, but he's going to have Kittle going, Ayuk going, Debo going, and CMC going to beat the Eagles. So
to kind of make a guess, as far as I know, I'm not a beat writer. I'm not in California. I'm not on the staff. I think what Kyle would say to that is, I don't care about your fantasy stats. I want the win first and foremost. Whatever player is winning, why not lean on them? Why not exploit the weakness in the defense that way? Whether it's Christian running it down your throat, or they keep manning up Brandon one-on-one. Let's just keep throwing it to Brandon. The zone defense that the Seahawks are playing, Debo's amazing at exploiting zones. Let's just pass to him the ball 10 times. Like, that's the best guess I could give. And
maybe you're right. I mean, maybe there is some truth to that. It's kind of like the Madden football version of offensive play calling, right? Like, I'm going to just keep running this play, and if you can't stop it, then too bad for you, right? I'm going to keep throwing it to my guy, and if you can't stop him and you can't cover him, I don't care. Who cares, right? So, I mean, maybe you're right. I mean, because we've seen there's been a few games earlier this season where Ayuk has been dominant in the first half, and then he disappears in the second half, and then all of a sudden Kittle takes over. So, I mean, maybe there is something to that. I don't know exactly, but I just think we're going to have to be hitting on all cylinders.
In your hypothetical, Brandon disappearing could be that that James likes to point out, that I can't poke a hole in this. Like, it's just the truth. Kyle doesn't play to win; he plays to not lose.
Yeah.
That's a big. I mean, I don't know. I can't dispute that. Like, when Kyle's offense is designed to get out ahead and then keep the lead, it's not.
Oh yeah.
It's not like, you get what I mean. Like, it's not to tack on more points in the second half. It's to just, let's maintain this 3-point lead or 3-score lead and then get out of here.
Yeah. Well, and that's a couple other things that I noted is we continue to leave points on the board. In that Seahawks game, we had 4 possessions that started on the Seahawks side of the field, and that only resulted in 3 points. We have to do a better job of getting points in those scenarios. Even if we only came away with 3 more field goals, that's still 9 more points that we would have. We have to be able to hammer some teams. We have to be able to hammer teams like the Eagles next week. We have to be able to hammer teams like the Chiefs when we play them. We have to be able to hammer teams like the Cowboys, because the Cowboys can score points. We're probably going to end up, maybe if we have to play like the Lions are a decent enough team. We have to be able to hammer them. We have to be able to put up points. We can't keep leaving points on the table. And then, like James pointed out, Kyle clinched up and kicked a field goal when he probably should have gone for it on that 4th down. I don't remember the exact down and distance and all that stuff now, because we're too far removed from it, but he's got to go for the kill against better teams. I mean, maybe in this particular instance, he thought, against Seattle, whatever, no big deal. My defense is playing great. I'm not too concerned. But to your point, Dan, that ended up kind of leaving Seattle hanging around in the start of that third quarter. Whereas if maybe he'd have went for it on fourth down and we converted and then turned that into a touchdown, we've put them away heading into the second half. And so I think he's got to just have more of that killer instinct. And if he plays tight like that against the Eagles this coming week, that's not going to work out good for us.
That's the thing, though, is that he can do that. We've seen him do that, like backed against the wall in Cleveland and in Minnesota. He has those instincts, and Purdy matches that intensity a lot, because you saw both Cleveland wasn't his fault. Moody missed the kick. No, he didn't get the touchdown, but it came down to a Moody kick, and he just missed the kick. We could have walked away with that win. But in the Minnesota game, yeah, it's just one sample size, but just talking about sports, that's the result we have to talk about, is that in the moment, he made a terrible decision to throw across his body, and that one was a pick instead of a touchdown. But we were driving down the field. So if Kyle, I don't know, I'm very fascinated to see what Kyle thinks up, because in this game, you were right. In this specific game, the Seahawks, we left points on the table. Granted, we could take advantage of knowing that our defense, it didn't matter that Gino's elbow was banged up, because that clearly didn't factor into how just insanely inefficient that offensive line for the Seahawks was being. We just smothered the crap out of him. It didn't matter. And it finally looked like Steve Wilkes, to complement the defense. It finally looked like this is what Steve Wilkes, his system working in perfect efficiency. The line collapses in less than 2 seconds, and that's enough time that the man coverage is still that sticky that Tarvarius Ward can break up 3 passes and Ambry Thomas can get a pick, because there's not enough time for the separation. Like, I really doubt it'll be that efficient next week. Again, we are going to do a preview show, but no, we got to take advantage of the fact that the defense was smothering Seattle so much. Even when we did start to bend a little bit in the third and fourth quarter, like, yeah, it was a little scary, but it didn't. If they scored one more time offensively, because remember, they didn't score offensively. They only got points from the pick six, which, I mean, we can dissect that play a little bit, but if they scored offensively once in addition to that pick six, then I would have been actually scared. I was uneasy, though, until we finally hammered it down and we got that Brandon touchdown. But that's a long-winded way of saying I agree with you. We are still having a problem with leaving points on the field, or points off the board.
Yeah. I thought I'll kind of finish off my bad points, I guess. I don't know how I got stuck with sticking on the bad points in the game, because I do have good things that I liked about the game. I mean, we killed them, so I mean, there were good things. I thought that Seattle got a bit more pressure on Brock than I would have really liked. I mean, I know they only got the 1 sack, but they were in his face, and he was having to move around and dance around in the pocket and extend plays a little bit more than I liked. Seattle's not really known for having a good front four or getting a lot of pressure on quarterbacks this season. And so I was a little dismayed by the amount of pressure that they were getting on him. I know we've got some injuries up front. I think Banks is playing with a toe, and then one of our other guards was missing. We had a replacement in for him. But
we had Banks back, but Buford was out and Feliciano was in there. So,
yeah,
we were injured, but I mean, I'll give Feliciano some credit. Feliciano's great, but yeah, they were going up against Dexter Lawrence, and I can't remember who else, but I mean, covering Dexter Lawrence is kind of tricky.
Yeah, but still, I mean, I just was a little, again, looking, not that you should be looking ahead, but I'm not a player, so it doesn't matter. But looking ahead, I'm like, ooh, I don't know that I want that kind of performance out of our offensive line facing the Eagles, because their defensive line is way more talented than the Seahawks. And if the Seahawks are getting that kind of a pressure, then I'm really concerned about the kind of pressure that Brock's going to face in that Eagles game. So that was something that concerned me. Just to hit on a couple of the positive things, to get those out of the way, I think Brock continues to look poised and great as a quarterback. I love the way that he looks downfield when he's scrambling. I think that's such an underrated characteristic out of him. To see him roll out of the pocket and still be looking downfield and be able to hit people downfield. We're getting so many. He's probably hitting 2 or 3 of those plays a game that are really changing and flipping the field for us, because he's hitting guys that are, breaking free on a scramble drill, and he's pegging them with passes. It's great. You hit on it a little bit earlier. The defense was great all night long. Ward played absolutely fantastic. The 6 sacks on the front 4 was great. I don't know exactly everything that they've changed over the bye week. I can tell that they're lining up in different places now. If you watch them, they're doing stunts and different things up front now, which is great.
My favorite of those, by the way, not to totally interrupt you, but my favorite one of those is when they put Chase and Bosa in the middle, and then Armstead and Gregory are on the outside. Or Armstead and Hargrave are on the outside. And that's my favorite, to just see how terrifying must that have been for both Trevor Lawrence and Geno Smith, to see directly in his eyesight, right in front of him, Chase and Bosa, both standing up, by the way. They weren't crouched. They were just standing up.
Yeah.
That's my favorite stunt that they do.
Yeah. So, well, Geno is famous for that clip earlier this season where Aaron Donald came rushing in at him and he was like, "Oh my God!" And he just chucked the ball. So we do have him to thank for that. But, I love the stuff that they're doing with the front 4 up now. I think it's great. They really clearly spent some time over the bye week figuring out new things to do. Obviously, adding Chase helps a ton with that, but it's been great watching them develop that pressure naturally up front, and I'm hoping that continues to carry over. And another takeaway was that the Lions lost over the Thanksgiving weekend. So, with that win, we moved into second place. That's big for us in the conference. I mean, it's not home field throughout. It's not a bye or anything like that, but it does move us into second place, where we could theoretically have home field against anyone other than the number 1 seed. And I think that's certainly promising. So a lot of great things to take away from the game. I know I was saying some, negatives there before. Don't mean to come off as a hater in any way, shape, or form.
Oh, no, it's being realistic. No, the only team, I'll say it. The Eagles aren't a perfect team. They are in the second half, apparently, but
yeah.
But no, they're I'll save that for when we talk about the Eagles. Listeners, we are very excited for the Eagles game because it's happening in 6 days. And James, obviously, we don't have to go through the whole history, but no, I agree. Offensively, yeah, it could have been a lot worse than it was. We was still 31-13. We'll take it, but no, defensively, they couldn't have asked for a better performance from everybody. Fred Warner was getting at everybody's face. Charvarius Ward had probably the best game I've seen him have as a 49er. He just, Geno threw some ducks to him. Some of those catches weren't catchable, but no. And Ambry Thomas, if you don't remember, way earlier in the offseason, I was so pumped to see Ambry Thomas getting a lot of action in the preseason, and Isaiah Oliver, they put him in the slot and Demo on the outside. I'm so glad that now the opportunity presented itself, because we finally gave up on Oliver, that Ambry is actually playing as good as I hoped that he could. Because I saw a great player 2 years ago, and thank God he's finally back, because we need him.
Yeah.
And it's so good. And I'm so excited now that this secondary looks like the right combination. I mean, Jair Brown, jury's out on him. He had a great first game, but he's going to be he'll be a little busy next week.
Yeah, well, what I was going to point out, because you were talking about the secondary and stuff, is he's played two and a half games now. Really, Brown has played 2.5 games, and we haven't said anything bad about him. We haven't really said anything good about him. I mean, he got an interception in the one game. The ball bounced to him. No big deal. That's great. Good for him. But
it was a game-sealing pick. Let's give it a little credit.
Well, yeah, that's fine. But I mean, but he hasn't done anything bad. You know what? We haven't been like, ooh, he missed a tackle. Ooh, he was out of place. Ooh, they threw that one over the top of him. Oh, he didn't come over and cover his spot, or whatever. I mean, he's clearly out there. If nothing else, he's clearly out there. He's in position. He's doing what he's supposed to be. Maybe he's not making the flashy splash plays that Hufanga was making, as far as coming up and making tackles. They're clearly not putting him on the line and having him come up and blitz like they did with Hufanga and stuff like that. But he's clearly in the position that he's supposed to be in, or we'd be talking about him because he would be making mistakes. So I love the fact that they're having him just go out there, play his game, do his thing, and be an integral part of the defense right now. And you're right, he's going to get tested this coming week, but it seems to me that so far, 2.5 games in, he's at least ready for the challenge. Is he up to the challenge? We're going to find out, but he's at least ready for the challenge.
Yeah,
which is great.
Hurts' arm is going to be a lot stronger than Gino's. Like,
yeah,
we'll see. I mean, there's so many factors that are going to be different, but no, like the fact that they've just asked him, like, hey, we're not going to ask you the blitz, just stay back, watch the guys that are in your eyesight, and like you'll be fine. Like,
yeah,
Gibson's there. He's a 13-year veteran. Ask him any question you want. You have Hufanga still. Like, we can still talk to Hufanga in the meetings. Like, you're going to be just fine, kid. Like,
yeah, and like I said, but to his credit, he's gone out and he's done his job. And that's all that you can ask a rookie coming in middle of the season, probably really hasn't got a ton of reps in practice, and he's coming in here in the heart of what's, supposed to be the toughest stretch for us in this season. And he's doing what he's supposed to do. So I'm super happy with him so far. And, if he continues to do what he's supposed to do next week against the Eagles, then that's all that I can ask of the kid. He doesn't have to come up and lay some big hit on somebody, or doesn't have to come up and make some big sack or do anything. Just go out there and don't make mistakes. And I'm happy with that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And to think how, I don't want to think how bad our defense would be if we didn't move Wilkes down to the field. 3 weeks in a row now, he's on the field. And lo and behold, it looks like if we isolate it to since our bye week, I think we are ranked like the 3rd or 2nd best defense in the league. Like,
oh, I would think so.
Who knows? I mean, again, we're going to get really tested. Did you have any disagreements with who got the turkey legs and the game balls? But
well, it was funny today. I saw a clip that they were showing that like Warner and Kittle weren't even supposed to be over there. That Kittle and him were talking, and he was like, "Are you going over for a turkey leg?" He was like, "No, I'm not." I don't think we were invited. He was like, "But I really want." Kittle was like, "But I really want a turkey leg." And Warner was like, "Well, but yeah." And he was like, "Well, I'm just going to go get one." And so they just ran over and they were like, "Clarissa, can we go?" And she was like, "I don't care." And he was like, "All right, I'm going." And so they just went over and got turkey legs. So I mean, I don't have a problem with it at all. I mean, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, Bosa showed up too. Bosa just came in. I remember watching that live. Bosa showed up.
Yeah, Bosa showed up. He's the most woodenest interview of all time. I mean, like he's like interviewing a cardboard cutout, my man. I mean, like he's just like, yeah. I mean, we played football today, and yeah, I sacked a person, and so that was what happened.
It's even better when you can't see him. Like he called in to Rich Eisen, and I'll never forget Rich Eisen's face just sitting there because he doesn't have any visual cues to go off with his face, and it's just, well, yeah, I go to practice, and I've been keeping it low key during the off season. Like I had my contract, but I trust my agent, and I knew it was going to get worked out. It's it's the best. It's so funny.
Yeah, I mean. I guess
the three
good for him.
The 3 turkey leg people were Purdy, Ward, and CMC. I mean, I don't have any dispute with that.
No, I mean they played great. McCaffrey was great. He's been fantastic all year. We keep talking about this every week, but it's between him and Brock for team MVP by any measure.
Has he surpassed Tyreek Hill for Offensive Player of the Year yet? Do you think? Because I think at this rate, I mean. I don't know. My opinion's starting to turn, and I'm starting to believe that he actually could take it over Tyreek Hill, even if Hill does hit 2,000 yards.
Where is Hill at? I'm going to have to look up where Hill's at in yards now.
I don't have DraftKings bookmarked on my browser, but I don't know.
That's okay.
Oh, yeah, you're a researcher now. That's what we hired you on for. The offensive MVP, there's no way he's not the front runner for offensive. He's probably
Hill is 1324.
Minus 1324?
No, I'm just saying I'm looking at total yards.
Oh.
Hill is at 1324. He's got more total yards than McCaffrey does. McCaffrey has more total touchdowns. I guess I don't.
Here we go.
Tough.
Here, I didn't have to log in for this. The Offensive Player of the Year. CMC is ahead of him at minus 105 to Tyreek Hill's plus 105.
Tyreek's already got 102 catches, though. Good grief. Oh, damn, no. 102 102 receiving yards. I'm sorry. He's got 88 catches.
I was say, holy crap, 100 catches at week 13.
Yeah, he's got 88 catches. That's still a lot. He's got 88 catches. He's got 10 touchdowns.
Who has Marvin Harrison's record got broken?
That's got Cup had the record at one point.
Oh, that's it. Cup broke it 2 years ago. That was it. I was gonna say it was him or Antonio Brown.
I don't know. I mean, it's hard for me. I'm very partial to CMC because he's such an integral part of what the 49ers do and everything that they do in terms of their offense and what happens on that team. So, I mean, I think he's such a critical part. And I guess
our offense would break apart much faster without Christian McCaffrey than Tyreek Hill with the Dolphins. Like, both are critical hits, but CMC would be a much bigger loss. And that's where I think that he should get the edge. Yeah,
and I guess, I mean, I don't know. I don't really think that the Dolphins have beaten anybody good this year. So, I mean, I think that's the other part of the equation is like they're running into the playoffs here as like an 8-3 team or whatever, but they haven't really beaten anybody. So I don't know. So
no, they haven't.
We'll see how it shakes out. I mean, I think if the 49ers end up being the 1 or the 2 seed, I don't think the Dolphins are going to be the 1 or the 2 seed. I don't think that's how that's going to work out. So, I mean,
the 1 seed's probably going to be Baltimore. Let's be real. Like clearly there's some chinks in the armor of Kansas City. Just Baltimore. We got to get through Philly. Keep our focus on Philly, but man, in a month when we play Baltimore, thank God we're at home. I'll put it that way. Thank God we're at home.
Yeah, so I mean, the Dolphins finish with Cowboys, Ravens, Bills. There's no way they're winning all 3 of those games. And they play the Jets before that, too. They might not beat the Jets, although they just beat the Jets 34-13. So I don't know, maybe. But that game was close early on. But there's no way they're beating the Cowboys, Ravens, and the Bills. There's no way.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're going to.
The Bills have some fight to them, and they'll want to get payback for that beatdown that the Dolphins gave them.
Yeah, so I mean, they're going to finish.
Was it the other way around? Did the Bills beat them down? I can't remember.
Yeah, the Bills beat them down. So, I mean, they're going to finish with 5 or 6 losses. So, I mean, if the 49ers finish with less losses than that, I don't think you can make, and higher in the seeding, I don't think you can make Tyreek the offensive player of the year. I just don't think he can do over CMC. I don't think so. So, we'll see. I mean, it all comes down to what happens out of this. It all comes down to what happens out of this next game. I mean, we can talk about it on the preview show. There's so many elements to this next game in terms of what happens and the implications of everything that for the season and the team and the players and everything. It's crazy in my mind.
Yeah,
it's like the Super Bowl in the middle of the season.
Oh my God, I know. You know what? We've hit 28 minutes. I think it's time for sponsors. And then, like, what else is there to say, honestly, though? Like, to put a pin in it. Like, what else is there to say? We were both as giddy as can be texting in the group chat. Like, it was like, I mean, like, we already beat it on the head. It was a little scary in the middle, but overall, we beat Seattle in Seattle on prime time, and we got them back for when they beat us on Thanksgiving 10 years ago. Like, finally.
Yeah. Well, and I mean,
overall, I'm very pleased.
Yeah, a good dominant win, and hopefully, we get past the Eagles here in this next week, and then swoop back around and take care of business at home against the Seahawks on a return trip. I mean, that's going to be another critical game for us. So
thank you for reminding me. We play them again in 2 weeks.
Yeah. So I mean, they're going to be upset about that loss on Thanksgiving. They're going to want to measure a revenge, and hopefully we can come out and.
And they're going to be mad because they just got destroyed in Dallas because Dallas doesn't lose at home this year.
Yeah. So, I mean, hopefully we can, keep them from exacting some revenge and keep, a potential winning streak alive. So we'll see what happens.
After a decade of them literally beating us every single time, regardless what our record was, every single time between, I think we did beat them once in 2011, but like say from 2012 to 2 years ago, we were basically guaranteed 2 losses from the Seahawks every freaking year. Let's just keep the good times rolling. Like, let's try to make this a 5-game win streak or a 6-game win streak. Let's just keep it going. At least it looks like we can right now. So
yeah. All right, run
man.
it, Dan.
Yeah, with that, I have a new graphic for our sponsor because if you didn't notice, listeners, I kind of cleaned up the backdrop a little bit. You can actually see it this time, right? I should
Yeah.
have asked. Okay. Yeah, 2 weeks ago I had to chroma in the background and it looked hideous, and I was really embarrassed by that. I don't know what the hell happened, but anyway, our sponsor for our show, our very generous sponsor, is RoyalRetros.com. What is Royal Retros? It is your go-to place to get an authentic throwback jersey, and they cover all the sports: football, basketball, hockey, baseball. I believe there's soccer on there, but excuse me, I don't follow soccer. Don't hate me for that. But anyway, they have an amazing Candlestick Park themed collection on their website right now. Oop, there we go. Don't block me completely. But yeah, you can go on there right now, 49er fans, and they have a Candlestick 49er themed collection on there that you can go check out. And if you find something you like, throw it in your cart and use the promo code Shady Sports, and you'll get 10% off of your entire order. Again, that is promo code Shady Sports to get 10% off of your order at RoyalRetros.com, our awesome, generous sponsor. Go get yourself a Royal Retro jersey today. Another thing that we've been closing every show off with is letting you know about a charity that we are doing, or a charitable effort, I should say. And it stems from the fact that basically owner accountability doesn't really exist. It started out, our real crusade over this started with Daniel Snyder, and then there was the Houston Texans minority owner. We really need to follow up if that court date actually happened, now that I'm thinking about it. Hopefully they threw the book at him. But then also our own CEO, de facto acting owner, Jed York, was caught up in his own scandal. So we have started a hashtag owner accountability, and the slogan owner standards over player standards, because we think that owners need to be held to the same standards as players. Like when a player gets suspended, we basically hear about it that day, if not the day after. And the owners can kind of just get away with what they want. Like my home state's owner saying that he's actually a targeted minority. Or the Carolina owner firing Frank Reich literally today, this morning while we were before we were taping. Frank Reich, speaking as Dave Tepper, what I told you to draft Bryce Young and you couldn't make it work with the guy that you didn't want in the first place? Get out of here. Like, I don't know what's going on over there, but that's 2 years in a row too that he got fired midseason. Like, I just feel terrible for that guy. Anyway, that's not really an owner problem per se. So owner standards over player standards, owner accountability. That's our hashtag and our slogan. And we have designed shirts that we are selling for charity. All the money from these shirts I'm about to show you are going to go to a crisis center in Kentucky. This just has the owner standards over player standards hashtag and slogan on it. It's a few different colors, and you can get it in different styles as well. So it's not just a t-shirt, and it's $23 for that starting price. The next shirt that we have is one that we are bringing back. We were only selling this when we were exclusively talking about Dan Snyder, but we have brought it back. It is the owners in a comical Mexican standoff, and we just thought this was a great time to bring this shirt back for you all. The next shirt is our podcast cover art. It's what you see when you find us on Spotify or Apple Music, wherever you listen to the show. And it's a very cool design to have on a shirt, we think. We also have our alternate logo there as well, without the greenery behind it, just Niner Nuts and the goalpost. It's a beautiful design too. Very good fabric. James recommends this shirt highly. He's worn it on the show a couple times. And then the shirt that makes us laugh and smile the most, our little mascot, the 49er Peanut, eating a bowl of peanuts. Don't ask if that's cannibalism or not. But he is wearing a 49ers hat and 3D glasses to fully immerse himself in the game. All the t-shirts, again, are $23. You can change up the colors, and if you want a hoodie or a long sleeve shirt. But again, all the money from these shirts are going to go to this Kentucky Crisis Center. It's our way of giving back. We want to help. We want to help people in need that really need it. We just want you to have a cool shirt while you're donating to charity as well. And Eric knew that when he signed up for the show. So, but yeah, with that, guys, that's kind of all we got. The only thing that really stood out to me in the news is that Frank Reich got fired, and just having a little offhand connection to him just because I'm in Indiana and he was our coach here for a few years, got the short end of the stick dealing with one owner to just go deal with another terrible owner apparently in Carolina. And I don't know. My 2 cents on it is just take a year off, dude. You've been abused enough. Take some time off, come back as a coordinator or a coaching advisor like what Jim Caldwell's doing. I saw that Jim Caldwell is on the Carolina staff and he wasn't named the interim head coach. I don't know what the hell decision that was, but but yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to give a little shout out and some love to Frank Reich, because I don't know. That has to suck getting fired midseason 2 years in a row.
He's getting paid though still, so he'll be all right.
That is true. Every coach's salary is guaranteed. So
yeah, so he's still getting paid a lot of millions of dollars to sit at home like you and I and watch football on the couch for the holidays. He's going to be just fine, my man.
Oh yeah. You know who should have been fired instead? Brandon Staley. I'm just throwing it out there. Why Brandon Staley is still the coach of the
Matt Eberflus, the guy that's going to be on TV in about 30 minutes, should be fired immediately. He's terrible.
Yeah, listeners, we always tape these on Mondays. I forgot it's the Bears and Vikings kicking off here in about 30 minutes. Oh, snap.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for reminding me of that. Anyway, that's all we got for this episode. We have
Peace out.
We have a betting episode coming up later, and obviously we're going to be talking about the Eagles. You'll just see them. I don't know what's one will be one will be Wednesday, one will be Friday. That's all we got for you. We got to wrap up this one, guys. Outro music, River Road by Justin Muth. Catch you on the next episode.
River Road, you got me running way back home. River Road, you got me running all night long. You got me singing some canal boat song. River Road, you got me running all night long. River Road, where have all the women gone? Have they kissed her hand and waved you bye-bye? Have they thought about crossing your double yellow lines? River Road, they love the way you whine and cry.